Hello guys, welcome to the Trading Parrot. I'm gonna do the market close update. It's 8 p.m. in UK time. Let's start with the 4-hour time frame. As you can see today, Bitcoin did a great effort to overcome resistance with the RSI of 40 taking the spotlight during the day, and on the price action, this particular candle trying to reclaim 81 was the most exciting moment of the day. After that, we saw a decent rejection from 81, pushing the price back down into 77,300. But so far, that hasn't been yet enough to stop the efforts from the bulls to potentially try once again to hit that 81. Interestingly, if we focus on the level of 80, we can see that now there is a decent amount of shorts accumulated there, betting for lower prices and taking the lead in terms of short liquidations. This morning, 81 was the leader, but now that has been moved down to 80,300, making even the 89 look smaller. This is liquidity from the past 30 days. If we focus back in the RSI, you can see a rejection at this level of resistance based on this trend line. It's quite a scary one because it could have a mild effect, putting just a higher low, creating a shape similar to what we have in this area here of reversal. Either having higher lows or equal lows will be great, but there is a scenario that is kind of spooking me, which is a full reset of the 4-hour. If this rejection in here had the strength to push this to a new lower low, getting into this 12 RSI, which is a very critical level that has been holding consistently the resets of the RSI on the lower end. You can see it in December, February, end of February, and if we repeat this now in April, that basically takes the 4-hour RSI into 12. A full reset into 12 at the moment is priced around the low 50s. It's a moving target that has been fluctuating during the day from 67 to 52, but still 52,000 is extremely low. That is even lower than the CME gap that we have located at 54K at the moment, precisely around here. That was the pivot that managed to create this whole move to the upside of 100% from there, and from top to bottom, that is located in a correction of 51%. Notice that today we have managed to do some progress in taking the CME gap that we formed over the weekend. For example, this pinch into 81,450 price in CME premium managed to take just around half of the gap. So we still have some remaining part of the gap, and we still have the gap that we formed on Wednesday at 85,000 price in Binance. The lower one ends at 82,666. If we were to reset with an equal low, pretty much what we did in the area of end of March, that will be an RSI of 19, and that is priced around 67,000. Let's remember that 67,000 is the peak of the liquidity below the price aggregated from the long-term liquidity pools using the 4-hour time frame, which is what we refer as the level 3. If you've been watching the channel, you know what I'm talking about, because level 1 is already gone, level 2 is gone too, and level 3 is the next one on the table, and is very close to the previous all-time high. If we were to do a higher low, which is slightly more bullish from here, and let's say we get it at around 25, halfway through the whole move up that we have in here, so it can be called a bullish pivot. So using 25, we can get a correction into 72,000. Of course, these three levels are assuming that we don't manage from here to break the resistance of RSI 40, which at the moment keeps us right below the resistance. In order to break out, I will say the price at the very least needs to go now back into 81, but instead of seeing a rejection, we could even afford to just close below 81, but we need a candle close, not a week into 81 with another rejection back at the 70s. Let's have a look at the daily, and we can see that we have done a huge progress towards reaching out to the bottom end of the wedge, currently at around 72,900, tomorrow at 72,500. So if this was a rejection after this daily indecision candle, with not too much effort, price can get into 72,500. It's just around the corner really. And after the breakdown that we have over the weekend in here, that is one possibility. Notice as well that the MACD daily has confirmed the bearish cross, and we are now well in the deep red territory in the histogram as well. I mentioned this morning that if we were to do the full reset on the RSI daily into 25, that is where we meet. If we were to complete it, 25 as of now is located at 68.5k. During the day we have a leverage squeeze signal 2 appearing in the chart constantly, but unfortunately with the price action and the intra-candle changes, the algorithm decided not to settle the signal. I made some changes to the indicator leverage squeeze included in the VIP subscription on the website to visualize the ratio of longs versus shorts as an improvement. Instead of just seeing the signal, then you can see when we're getting into the low end and to the higher end as well. I did it because that really helps me to understand where we are instead of just looking at the signal. Of course, you can collapse this if you don't want all that detail. A reminder that around 24th of March, we had a buy signal from Hash Ribbon. Someone reminded me that during the live stream earlier today. And so far, we have done a drawdown of 15%. Let's remember that around July 2024, the drawdown of Hash Ribbon did a 30%. And I consider that the worst performing signal in history of hash ribbons. Most of the time we get some upside, some decent one, and not necessarily so much drawdown. We continue in the extreme fear at 23. Let's have a look now at the order book. We have taken the liquidity of the shorter term, the high leverage one, and the lower leverage was taken in the morning when we went into 74k. There is a remaining part in here. As we can see, if we went to 72, then we complete all that work. And then we have deeper liquidity at the all-time high, the level 3. What we took today when we went to 74 is just the extension of the bear flag. So if there is further price action and weakness around this area, then number 3 becomes doable. And what I've been trying to trade today is a rally into resistance, into 83. Unfortunately, the support at 81 play a crucial role, preventing the price to come back and even meet with that resistance. So far, the bulls are just holding the ground against the immediate resistance at RSI 40. If we can manage to close above that, we could increase the chances that next time we meet with 81, we can go into 84, 83 and close the remaining part of the fair value gaps that we have in this area, close the remaining bit of the CME gap immediate to the price, and potentially even the higher one up until 85k. Why not? That was my thesis this morning, but so far we have done only half of that by reaching 81.3. Let's look at the order book. I can see that the longs haven't necessarily thrown the towel in here from around 70 to 64. That is a small reduction of longs, nothing compared to when we were in this area and suddenly we got a rug pull into 45 of longs. That definitely caused trouble when we were at 89 and caused a correction of 13%. In this case, we are at 64. This doesn't necessarily guarantee continuation to upside, but at least it's a sign that there's still not necessarily a rug pull in place. When it comes to the bid versus the ask, at 4 a.m. this morning, we have a signal when the bid reached a level of 0.24. Right after that, we've been just flat in this area, and that's contributing to the indecision candle that we are forming on the daily. If we look at the delta on the low end, currently we have around 600k, which is a considerable amount, but nothing compared to the 1 million that we have at the very bottom when I was turning bullish this morning. I still think that 600k can do some additional damage to the shorts, but I'm not stressing too much about it. If this move just lasted to 81, I still have my plan of what to do next if we meet those lower targets. I have an order around the low 70s. If you want to know the full detail of my laddering plan and the sizing of the orders, I've got an article on Patreon. I do not place it as a limit order. I really want to see how markets continue. Let's look at fire charts. There is some support at 73 and at 70k with 28 million and 31 million, resistance at 84 with 30 million, and at 88, interestingly, 65 million. So someone thinks that that level can be reached. There's been suppression all over the place in March, and it keeps chasing the price up and down. I suspect that if we go higher and we reach 84, they're just gonna move it into 90, 95. And here's the thing, probably the most important part in the video, which is we are in the area of value once again. And that's why I'm holding on to my long with some sort of hopium coming from this indicator, which has played out pretty well in this range every time that we are in this area of value. In the same way that when we were at around 10k in the green, I say, I really don't like this, too many longs, and that definitely contribute to the collapse in all the liquidations of all these people. But here we are back in the value, nothing guaranteed, no indicator plays out all the time. But let's look at the orders to sniff a little bit more. We have 500 at 77k, and on resistance we have placed an order of 700 at 83k. In between the price, I can only see this 300 and this 200, but nothing really substantial. Immediately above the price, there is 300, 400. So there is currently an ongoing battle, and those numbers are gonna constantly change. There is now support at 73.3 with 1.1k, and now we are talking. The ladder goes, we could say, from 73 all the way to 68. Place at equal distances, more or less. The most interesting levels with 600 and 700s are 68,500, 69,500, 70k, and I can see that the interest probably comes from that level being from the previous cycle top. I forgot to say, but fair value gaps to the downside start from 74, and this fat one ends around 70k, more or less pinching the previous all-time high. And I want to keep an eye on general markets, and something I care about is the S&P gaps that we have here. And today we are not closing the gap number 2 and 3, we are only closing the gap number 1 on the daily. On the weekly, the lows look pretty ugly. Currently on the S&P, we are just meeting the highs of January 2022. This has been a carnage. And VIX hit highs of 60, which is just grotesque. But hey, if you've been following the channel, I've been with a megaphone shouting that we're gonna get to the top end of this channel pretty much every single week for months. Nvidia is about to close below $100, which is crazy how close we're getting to the target number 4. And really there are just a few exceptions of companies that are battling to close in the green today. Most of it is already switched back into the red, including Tesla, Apple, Microsoft, and many more. And today I cover many of these coins on TA in my live stream, including Grass, Solana, DOT, XRP, Ethereum, and many more. Guys, if you want to trade Bitcoin on a non-KYC exchange, consider opening an account on Bluffin. You get 10% cashback if you use the link in the description. If you want to go with one of the big boys, I have a link to open an account on OKX down there as well. By using that link, you can grab yourself 60,000 in rewards and lower your trading fees to the minimum. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye bye.